I just love the fact that I read 9 books in April 2021. And in today's wrap up video, I'm going to tell you about all these books that I finished reading last month and what I think about them. So let's get started. But before that, hi there, I'm Manpreet. I make book related videos on this channel. If you're new here, please make sure you subscribe, follow me on my social media, and hit the bell button so that you get notified every time I post a new video. Even if you are an existing viewer and you're not getting notifications, just hit the bell button again. Okay, so let's begin with the wrap up video. The first book that I finished reading was The Rage Against the Dying of the Light by Dr. Shishir Srivastav. I was actually working with the author of this book to review this book, and this book is actually based on the real true life events of the author's life. In this book, the author has actually relayed his own life while imagining himself as the character Neil. And with the story of this book, the author has actually tried to show you what life of a medical student is like. And then Neil's life moves on to the later part of his life when his son is taken ill with a deadly and mysterious disease. So the book has a lot of medical jargon, and it is full of medical terminologies which might be uncomfortable for people who are not related to the medical field and do not understand these terminologies much. But being a person who has watched all 16 seasons of Grey's Anatomy more than once, Good Doctor, House, and I have really tried watching any medical drama that is out there that I can find on Hotstar, Amazon Prime, and Netflix. I was not that unaware of the medical terminologies, to be honest. So I feel like it does take some time to get into the book, but after about 40 pages, you are in a flow and you actually can pace through the book. I really liked, the whole book. The themes that have been touched through this book, the whole writing style, narration, and everything. So I gave it 4.3 out of 5 stars. I have a full review of this book coming up very soon, so I'll link it down below in the description whenever it's up, so that you can check out the full review before you make your decision about this book. The second book that I finished reading last month is Ringa Ringa Roses by Neil De Silva. Now, I have made an author spotlight video about this author who writes horror fiction in India, and this is a book that was available for free on Prime Reading, so I picked it up. This is a collection of 3 short horror stories, and I actually did not like them much. They were okay, and anyhow, to get me scared with horror stories, that takes a lot of effort. But this was just something I did not like that much. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I feel like I want to read the author's more popular and more loved works before I make an opinion about the author. This was my first book of Neil De Silva, and it was okay, but I want to read better books, so I'll try his Maya's New Husband soon. Third book is actually a book on personal finance, and I feel like if there is one book that is a total miss in all these 9 books that I've read in April 2021, that would be this one, Mint Your Money by Pranjal Kamra. Now, this has been written by a YouTuber, a very famous YouTuber, and it is a very popular book, which is why I bought it. But it is, too basic of a personal finance book. It is just short but fluffy, and the information that is there in the book, the little information that is there, is very obvious. And I would say that if you're looking for a personal finance book that is easy to read for beginners, very basic, just like this one, but has a lot more information and a lot more impact, then there's a book called 13 Steps to Bloody Good Wealth by Ashwin Sanghi and Sunil Dalal, which I feel like the people who have already been watching me are actually pretty bored of having me talk about this book. But read that book, not this one, just because it's really trending right now. It does not have any information. Like, I would give it 2 out of 5 stars. The more I think about it, the lesser ratings I want to give this, because really, what was this book even about? Fourth one, I have already talked about this book way too many times in way too many videos in the last month, and that is A Touch of Eternity by Durjoy Datta. This is a book about, 2 people who are sort of connected right from their birth, and it has a touch of science fiction, a dystopian fiction, and I really like this book. There's a full review of this book that is live on the channel already, so you can check it out. But basically, I love the whole book. It's a really good romantic fiction that you must try out. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next book that I finished reading last month is Club You to Death by Anuja Chauhan. This is the latest Anuja Chauhan book, which is a contemporary murder mystery. And this is about this murder of a gym instructor in a very posh um, an exclusive to rich Delhi people club. And there's this policeman who is a very interesting character who's trying to solve this mystery of the murder, and there is a lawyer who just unwillingly and unknowingly attaches himself with this case. And that's the story of this book. And unfortunately, I actually found this very disappointing. Now, Anuja Chauhan is one of my favorite authors, and I have loved her books. I have read Baz, Those Pricey Thakur Girls, and The House That BJ Built, and have loved all three books. But this was just not that good. It felt like a big rant of aunties, like, there were just aunties talking. That's what this book felt like. It was not interesting. It gets to the point when I actually wanted to DNF it. But then, Anuja Chauhan being my favorite author, I wanted to finish her book, but it was not good. I would say the characters, they are like the original Anuja Chauhan characters, vain, funny, and interesting. But the whole plot, it was a long, boring conversation between aunties. That's what it felt like. So 3 out of 5 stars to this book. Number 6 book that I finished reading is an Agatha Christie book, that is Peril at the End House by Agatha Christie. If you're watching me for the first time or do not know already, I'm trying to actually read and review all the Agatha Christie books. And I started with the Poirot mysteries. I think this is the 8th Poirot mystery. This is about, this woman who is, in danger. Poirot, as he is often in his books, is on a holiday, and there he meets this girl, and she just tells him how she has just sort of had accidents and almost got saved and all that. And Poirot just realizes that she might be in danger and takes up the case and all that. This book is actually really cool to read, but I would say that so one thing that I did not like about this book, the full review is coming up very soon, but otherwise, if an author is laying a trap for the reader, if the author is trying to confuse you in some way, or if an author is trying to make the plot more complex, and you see it right away, you see it like, you know what, this has been placed now, this will be used later on, that becomes boring. And that is what I saw in this book. I'll discuss more in length without giving away any spoilers in the review video. But overall, I felt like after one point, this book goes from interesting to, yeah, okay, like that. I found it a little bit boring in the end. I found it a little bit predictable. I would not even say predictable. It has a really good twist, and it has good elements, but overall I did not feel that it had that Agatha Christie factor that I love. So I would give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I would not recommend it to you unless you are doing a project like this where you want to read all the Agatha Christie books. And lastly, I read 3 books of the Shiva trilogy. Finally, it took an effort, okay? I have read the first book in the Shiva trilogy, is The Immortals of Meluha, a long time back. And after that, I did not really finish the trilogy. And always, I would get questions about, Manpreet, seriously, you are Indian booktuber and you haven't read Shiva trilogy? So finally, I decided to read it. And trust me, it took an effort. It took solid amount of determination to finish the whole trilogy. But now that I have finished it, I really love it. I'm happy that I read it. The whole book, the whole trilogy is so good. The characters, the plot is so complex, and there's so many good elements that are in this plot, and the characters are so amazing, and the writing is so easy. It's a very beginner friendly book, but at a level that is something that you will find in a complex epic fantasy or something like that. So I really like this book, and I feel like if you have been always procrastinating reading this book like I have done so far, up until April 2021, then I would say that drop everything and read this book. Honestly, if you have been reading mythological fiction genre and haven't read this book, you need to drop everything right now and read this series, because chances are everything that has been written after this series was published has been inspired from this series in some way or another. And it is just, I feel like I felt silly that I was reading all of these mythological fiction books, and I did not read the one that inspired all of these mythological fiction books and very clearly inspired all of these. So yeah, read the series if you haven't read it. And with this, these are the 9 books that I read in April 2021. What are the books that you read in last month? Let me know in the comments down below. I am really keen to hear from you guys in the comments. So let's get started with the talking in the comments. And yes, thank you so much for watching this video. This might be signing off. I'll be back with another video very soon.